pleasure to welcome the former two-term governor and three-term senator from the state of Florida, Bob Graham. He'll be speaking here in Sarasota coming up on November 18th at the Hyatt Regency Hotel as part of the Forum Truth Series. We'll give you the information about getting tickets a little bit later on. Senator Graham, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much, Doug.
Good to talk to you today, and it's going to be an interesting speech, I'm sure, coming up basically on national security, but I'm sure it'll be touching on a lot of topics. So before we get to that, I got to ask you, I was watching Saturday, I'm sure you were too, on C-SPAN, the health care vote in the House. First, do you wish you were there, and do you miss being part of that?
No, I made a very conscious decision in 2003 that I was going to retire from the Senate and spend the rest of my life being a good grandfather and also doing some things like writing this book called America, the Owner's Manual that I had been putting off doing while I was actively in the Senate.
It was a little contentious just watching it on there. I guess that's good, right? You want to have both opinions there. But that was interesting to watch. Whether you agree or disagree with the bill, that's a whole other thing. But it was interesting to watch as a citizen. I have to say that.
Yeah, and although there were some maybe who got over the top, in total, I thought the debate was intelligent, understanding of other people's opinion. Civil was the kind of debate that the American people deserve from their elected officials.
Now the vote will go to the Senate. How do you think that's going to go?
I think that a health care bill is going to pass probably before the end of this year, and that it will deserve the title health care reform. It will be modified by the Senate in some ways. For instance, they may have a different way to finance the program. The House is doing it through a surcharge on people who earn more than $500,000 a year. The Senate is doing it by scaling back what are referred to as the Cadillac health care plans. I personally would think that I would tend to support the Senate approach to financing, but I believe that there'll be a bill that will significantly increase the percentage of Americans who have access to health care and will put into place some things which over time will begin to control the out-of-control spiraling upward of health care costs.
I think one of the things that a lot of people can agree on both sides, the insurance companies, you can only buy insurance in your particular state wherever you are. If you eliminated that part of the problem, that might lower prices and bring costs down. Do you think that'll be part of the bill?
Well, I think that's part of this exchange that people are going to be going to in order to get insurance. As I understand it, that will be a national exchange, not state by state, so that there will be a greater degree of interstate competition.
In your experience in the Senate, Senator Graham, have you ever seen a period like this the last couple of years, maybe even going back 5 to 8 years, where it's really been, I think people are getting more involved now. That's part of what you write in your book, getting involved. But really people, I guess, are more vocal now, aren't they, in the last 10 years? Maybe even the last 5 years.
Yes, I think the volume of the debate has increased. I'm frankly not so sure that the quality of the debate has increased. One of my concerns is that we've now had about 2.5 generations of Americans who have gone through school with very little civics and particularly very little about how a citizen comports themselves in a democracy, and that failure to get that basic foundation has resulted in a lot of yelling and screaming, substituting for thoughtful contributions towards an ultimate agreement. In our form of government, compromise is not a nasty word. It is, in fact, the only way that you are going to get anything accomplished. And we need to have more people who recognize that, don't try to demonize your opposition, and are calmly making constructive suggestions that will find that point of compromise that will bring a majority of Americans and their elected officials behind a particular proposal and move the country forward.
We're talking to Senator Bob Graham. We'll be speaking on November 18th. It's at the Hyatt Regency. If you're interested in getting tickets, we'll give up the number a couple of times. It's 349-8350, or go to forumtruth.org. It's always a very successful series. And the main topic you're going to be talking about is national security. Of course, you've had the great experience in the Senate on those committees on intelligence. A lot of things going on, obviously, I guess, as we record this. Over in the Middle East, Netanyahu today calling for peace talks with Palestine. That's always been a contentious situation. How do you see that working out?
Well, I hope that this will lead to some positive outcome. There's no issue which has been more contentious than the issue of Israel and its relations with its Palestinian neighbors. It's also been an issue that has stood in the way of a lot of other things happening. As an example, in 2010, we're going to have the every 5-year conference on the nuclear non-proliferation agreement. At the 2005 session, it blew up over the issue of Israel and the Palestinians. We have too much at stake as a nation and as a world on the subject of controlling the proliferation of nuclear weapons to let it blow up again, and progress towards resolving the Israel-Palestinian issue will go a long way towards making it possible that we have a constructive session that will contribute to the safety and security of every human being on the planet.
Talking with Senator Bob Graham, a former governor and senator from the state of Florida, and of course Florida politics is always interesting, Senator. You've been through it on a couple different levels. How do you look at the coming up in 2010? What's going to be going on with the Senate races?
2010 is going to be a very special year for politics in Florida. It's the first time since the 19th century that we've had no incumbents running for any of the statewide offices, from Attorney General to Lieutenant Governor to Governor, and a U.S. Senate race. So there's going to be a big mountain of political activity for Floridians to walk up and down in 2010. Florida is also the largest of the states that are competitive for the presidential election, so how we vote in 2010 will be seen as a thermometer of what's going to happen in 2012 when assumedly President Obama is seeking re-election, and the 2012 vote will be in many ways a referendum on how well his first 4 years in office has gone.
Well, we've talked about, since you've retired from the Senate, you're really probably busier than ever. You talked about the book called America, the Owner's Manual. We also have the Bob Graham Center for Government Service, right? Is that up at the University of Florida?
It is. My wife says, Doug, that I'm working more hours today than I did when I had a real job. She may be right, but I'm having the opportunity to spend those hours doing exactly what I want to do.
Well, I know the folks down here in Sarasota are going to be looking forward to seeing you, Senator. It's on November 18th. Again, it's at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. If you want information, just go to the website forumtruth.org, or you can call 349-8350. And Senator Graham, we appreciate you taking a few minutes. I know it's a busy schedule, but we wanted to have you on and give the folks a chance to hear a few words from you, and they'll hear you in person on the 18th.
Well,
thanks for being with us.
Doug, if you come down to the Hyatt on the 18th, please introduce yourself. I'd like to say hello and continue this conversation.
I will. That'd be great. Thank you, Senator.